episode, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between a scientific article, how that's written, and how the same thing is described in a popular science book. So I'm going to start by reading a little bit from Carl Zimmer's book Microcosm. In 1983, English peat cutters discovered the body of a 2,200-year-old man preserved in a bog near Manchester. The man had been ritually killed. Someone had clubbed him on the head, slit his throat, wrapped a cord tightly around his neck and then pushed him into the bog. The acidic waters preserved his corpse and even its contents. In his stomach, scientists found barley and mistletoe, and in his intestines they found the DNA of E. coli. Now, there's a reference at the back of the book in the bibliography section, and I looked up this paper, and let's read how the paper describes this same discovery. Okay, the article is published in Letters in Applied Microbiology in 1997, and it's called The Detection of Escherichia coli DNA in the Ancient Remains of Lindo Man Using the Polymerase Chain Reaction. And there it says, the application of the silicon extraction method was successful for both fresh and ancient specimens. Specific target bands were observed at the expected 154 and 264 base pair positions, figure 2, for all positive samples. After the initial amplification run, the samples from Lindo Man were re-amplified to obtain clearly visible bands. Sample 1 was amplifiable at dilutions of 10 to the minus 3 and 10 to the minus 4, and sample 2 at 10 to the minus 1 to 10 to the minus 4 after silicon extraction, figure 2. So that's a hugely different description of the same thing. Now, why are scientific articles so unreadable? Well, the first thing you have to consider is, why are scientific articles written? First of all, they're written for other scientists, and the other scientists might want to try similar experiments themselves, so they need a lot of detail, like down to the name of the company where the chemicals were ordered that the scientists used in their experiments. But also scientists have to check each other's work, so you have to describe in great detail what you did so that someone else can understand even the tiniest little things. Scientists write about their work for other scientists, not just so that they can tell them what's new and what they've discovered, but they need to report on these discoveries to ensure that they get funding for new research and to make sure that they get the job they want in the field they want. Like, almost everything that someone has done will at some point end up in a paper so that they can tell someone else about it. But not everything ends up in science books. Authors of books will just pick things that are interesting and that form part of a much larger story. Like here, the whole book is about E. coli, but just a tiny, tiny fraction of the book is about that paper I just read. So only that this sort of overarching message ends up in the bigger picture in the book. So scientific papers will end up very detailed because they're written for other scientists and they need to get all the detail from that paper. But you can still be a little bit creative in writing a scientific paper. There was one paper that came out this past summer, which was about the mechanics of why people tend to spill coffee when they walk with a cup. Like, if you just walk with your cup like this, you'll spill a lot of coffee. But that paper was also written in a very fun way. And there's also a group of scientists in Sweden that have a sort of an internal competition going on where they're all trying to get away with sneaking as many Bob Dylan lyrics into their scientific papers as they possibly can. So you'll have this really serious scientific paper, but then somewhere in the paper it will say the answer is blowing in the wind or something like that. So even with this rigid format, scientists still manage to have a bit of fun when writing their papers. But overall though, I would say if you just want to read some science for fun, you should pick up a book and not a scientific article. This was the penultimate episode of season 2 of SciBookChat. There's one more coming up in which I just sit down with a big pile of books and I talk a little bit about the different types of science books there are and the different types of people that write these books. So that one's still coming up in 2 weeks, and that'll be the last one of season 2. So definitely stay tuned for the last video of the season. Okay, I filmed this video before, but I was an idiot and I deleted it from the memory card before downloading it to the computer because I'm stupid.